Hello, I'm here today with Art from Virginia State University, and we are very excited for him to tell us a little bit about himself, and then we're going to talk about the partnership that he has with Sloan-C. So, Art, go ahead.
Well, good afternoon, everybody, or wherever you happen to be and whatever time it happens to be. My name's Art Fridrich, and I'm the Director of Distance Education at Virginia State University. I've held that position closing in on 2 years now. Prior to that, I have about 30 years in the technology area, so worked in IT departments and doing a lot of different things. And they asked me to start up our distance education program 2 years ago. It sounded like a new and interesting field for me, and I always had interest in the academic side of the house, so I opted to accept that opportunity, and it's been an interesting journey since.
So what was that like, starting up the program?
Well, it's always an interesting thing because you're starting with a clean placemat, and so you have to go and try to get your ideas together. And we developed, first of all, our strategic plan for what we wanted to accomplish, and did that by talking to a lot of people around campus and incorporating that in. And then I went from there into policies and procedures, and so tried to get those all in place before we really got going, so that people kind of knew what was expected of them and of the institution and that as we move forward with distance education. And since then, we've been trying to ramp up more DE courses, online courses, hybrid courses. We also have responsibility for that. And we're trying to move into programs. So we haven't quite gotten there yet, but we're hoping in the fall we'll have our first one.
Well, it sounds like you've made a lot of progress in just 2 years.
And I would say yes, and it's by the grace of God that there's a lot of wonderful people at Virginia State that have helped and make it work, because unfortunately we don't have a lot of money like a lot of institutions these days, and so I am a one-person office. And so if it weren't for the faculty and some of the administrators supporting and helping move things forward, it just absolutely wouldn't happen.
So because you're a one-person office and you do as much as you can by yourself, you've sort of outsourced some of your development to Sloan Consortium through workshops and certificate programs. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Sure. So in our policies and procedures guide, we went and said you have to be certified by VSU to deliver courses online, and whether that be for distance education or just online classes for the community as a whole. And knowing that there was no way in a short period of time we were going to stand up anything ourselves, we looked around, and of course came the Sloan-C. And so we opted for that, and we put a qualifier in there, so we have adjuncts and new faculty coming in. If you've taught at other institutions online for a period of time and you can show us a portfolio of that, we will review it, and that would be in lieu of doing Sloan-C. But for everybody else, and that's the entirety of our faculty at VSU right now, they are required to take the Sloan-C certification program if they want to teach online. And up to this moment, I would say we have probably 40 people that are actively in the program. Mm-hmm. We started in January of last year with our first class of 4 people, and by mid-year we had it up into the 20s, and then by the end of the year into the 30s, and we just reached the 40s now. Of the group that started last year, I think 5 have completed the program so far, and we're delighted. And it's reflected, the total involvement in the program is reflected in what's happening at VSU online. So whereas a year and a half ago there was virtually nobody that was certified teach or were involved in Sloan-C teaching online classes, by the summer of last year, or no, the fall of last year, we had 66% of our classes being taught by people certified, and this summer we expected up to 88% of the classes are being taught by people certified. So a lot of progress.
So that's pretty impressive in terms of showing how you've made those improvements and changes to really create a quality experience for your students.
It was important. I mean, one of the first things I did when I got it, we were offering online courses for years, okay, just like a lot of places, and they popped up in departments where a faculty member thought they had the next great thing and they put something online. And we looked at the courses, and there were some that were quite good quality, almost reaching the level we wanted. There was a lot of them that weren't. And we said we just can't accept that. That's the institutional brand that's being placed on that course. And if we don't have some mechanism for controlling what's going on in our online environment, we're going to be in trouble. So this is one of two prongs for us. So we have this, and then we have the other prong where we actually review the courses to make sure, and we have a little review committee that goes and looks at the online courses to make sure that content-wise and everything else that it's acceptable for online delivery.
So how do you think the certificate program has helped the faculty who have been able to complete so far?
Well, I can tell you it's opened a lot of eyes. You don't know what you don't know. And so a lot of people, and I have one faculty member that refuses to go into Sloan-C, absolutely has no idea what online education should look like, but believes he's an expert in that particular field. And so we get into discussions about it, and if you don't know, you may very well think that what you're delivering is a good course. And his was handwritten notes that had been Xeroxed into a machine and put out as PDFs for the students to read, and that was his online class. So, just the basic understanding of, first off, why it's important, and so you go through all the rubrics and trying to understand what you're trying to improve in all of these things. That was critical. And then because of the classes and the interactions with people that from other schools that certainly are far more advanced than we are, and the Sloan-C staff, we learn new tools. We learn new ways of doing things. We learn about how everything from as basic as our syllabus should look all the way through to how that material is presented and how to take care of the different learning styles and all of that of our students. So it's been spectacular, I think, the improvements we've seen.
And I've personally had the opportunity to work with, in the certificate program, there's a mentoring aspect. And I've had the opportunity to work with some of your faculty, and they're very motivated, really want to create quality learning experiences, and are willing to do what it takes. And it's great that the resources are available for them to make those things happen as those develop. And I think that you've done a fantastic job, especially when you look at budgets and things being tight, that you've really made that a priority for their development, which then in turn builds the program for students.
There is no future without the faculty. So for all of those folks out there that believe faculty are going away because we're moving towards online, it's not true. And they used to say that about ERPs when we were bringing those into higher education. We bring in this system, they're going to lay off everybody in the departments. And we found quite the opposite in a lot of cases. Look at the administrative growth over the last few years. The role of teachers will change, instructors will change over the course of time, but they'll be no less important, and actually I think will probably be a greater contributor to the outcomes of students than they are now.
Right, I do see some of the roles shifting more and really having more of an impact on students because you get to know them. In an online class, you interact with all of your students, not just the ones that are sort of more outgoing and come to see you.
There is no sitting at the front of the class in the online environment. Everybody's at the front of the class as long as you're participating. So absolutely that's part of it. It allows you to, kids are shy, kids may be tentative in their knowledge of something, whatever. They're not raising their hands in classes. They're not participating in conversations. And whatever else you might say about the internet, one thing it's done is remove some of our anxieties and that towards communicating our knowledge and our experiences with other people.
Well, I think it's just they have that opportunity where they can express themselves, because in the traditional classroom, you have those students who there's one or two teachers' pets who know the answers and talk, and so I can sit back in Facebook and not say anything. Well, online, my grade depends upon my contributions and my interaction, and it allows me to sort of blossom in my own personality and see that I have that ability for skills and talents that I might not know.
I believe you're absolutely right there. I do think that's an important factor. And, I don't know, I don't sit in a lot of classrooms nowadays, but still the few ones that I sit in take that 16th century model of I'm up at the front of the classroom and I'm sharing my wisdom with you, and you sit and listen, and and so that there isn't that much time for that interaction. Now, we are starting to see shifts with the flipped classrooms and things like that are changing the in-class experience, but I think that online absolutely does it better in that regard.
Well, I believe that we were talking earlier that you were trying to encourage your faculty to do more flipped learning.
I believe flipped learning. I'm philosophical about education. I've been in it a long time. It's my contribution that when I die, I'll be able to look back and hopefully positively affected a few people along the way. And I go and I say, tell our faculty right now, when I discuss with them, I go and I say, if we go and keep the same current path that we're going, 10 years from now, we're going to be out of business. We have MOOCs. If I want to go and sit and watch a video for 50 minutes, I can go online at midnight, at 1 o'clock, in my bedroom, wherever I happen to be, and watch it. I can pause it. I can back it. I can do all of those things. Why on God's green earth am I going to pay $1,000 or $1,500 or whatever it happens to be for tuition for that class to come in and sit for an hour in your classroom and do that? So what we need to do is use the technology for what it's good at. And you can do your videos, put them online, make them short chunks and all of that so that they can do that before they come to class. We're trying to get into adaptive learning at our institution, and if we do well at that, we can go and see the weaknesses of students before they come into class, and we can focus things on helping the students better develop themselves. So whether it be projects or whether it be discussions or whether it be crafting your lectures to focus in on things people aren't getting, those will be vast improvements from what we have now.
I think that's so needed because students today have so much technology around them that listening to someone talk at them for an hour is something that they're just not going to stay attuned to. I mean, they're going to be busy on their own device while someone's talking.
But we still have, it's still kind of interesting, and I was in with a student yesterday and I was sitting listening. We're still at kind of a tipping point because there's still students that they have the cell phones, they do the texting and that, but if you ask them if they are technologically savvy, they'll go and say no. And if you ask them if they have troubles getting through some things, they'll say yes. So we still are in a transitional stage. I mean, it's moving more towards the other direction, but we still have work to do and making sure that some of the kids are prepared when they get into that online environment or in the hybrid environment.
So how do you prepare your students to jump into those different worlds of education?
Well, I'm developing a course right now, and there's a lot of institutions that have similar courses, and we used to have it, we did away with it, and we're bringing it back, and it's kind of orientational learning. Mm-hmm. And it really covers the whole realm. So we talk about VSU specific types of things, so how to use Blackboard and all of that, and then ask them to do a video and so on and so forth. We talk about the library's resources. Nobody's going into the library anymore. And nobody's using the online services either because they don't know how to do it. And so, you know, you have to go and we provide some training on that, all the technologies we use or that they could use to help them. And then we go into more traditional things because one thing that you have, especially in an online environment, is you don't have any control as an instructor. So time management, goal setting, how to read text, how to mark up text, how to participate in discussion groups, how to go and take final examinations, and all of those things are covered in that class as well. And we're going to launch it. Well, we did a real sub-launch this spring and very limited, and we didn't have the technology pieces in. This summer we're launching it in earnest, and I'm hoping it's a nice size but not too big, so that we can go and work through and iron out some of the kinks. And if I might, one of the interesting things that we do, and everybody's worried about the cost of education and that, we started, and a lot of other schools have started the same thing, to have discounted courses during the summer. So we offer 10 courses this summer. We started with 4 last year for $200 per course. And that's all online, includes all the course materials, including the ebook and the instructor. And last year, with 4 courses out of our unit and 150 or 200 out of the rest of the summer school program, we enrolled 12% of the students.
Wow.
And this summer, I expect it to go up. Right now, we're at the enrollment level we were at the launch of summer last year. We're already there. So I expect we're going to be maybe 1.5 or 2 times as large as we were last summer with this program. We open it to a lot more students than a traditional, so we have online classes at 20, 25 student maximum enrollment limit. This one's 100 student limit. And if the faculty member wants to have a facilitator with them, we have that. And we just craft the courses differently so that the faculty member can make it through that course.
That sounds like a great way to help with retention and access and really helping people through completion.
And with the lack of financial aid, with the financial aid regulation changes, if you have money left over from last year, you can use it in the summer. If you want to use money from the future, you can't, where you used to be able to. So it's all out of pocket. We don't offer scholarships. We don't offer financial aid. It's $200 out of your pocket. So hopefully they have more invested in the process, where, financial aid, it's kind of funny money. They'll learn about it later on in life when they start paying it some of it back. But this is real money that they've had to earn or get somewhere. So hopefully that adds a little bit to the motivational factor as well.
I mean, it sounds like you've done some really amazing things in 2 years.
Well, I appreciate that. We got a long way to go, and we have some lofty goals. The institution, I don't know if they're going to move as fast as I'd like to. Our bookstore contract comes up next year. I'd like to eliminate the bookstore and go to total digital content, and we'll find out in the next few weeks whether that has a chance. But we're at least talking about, and we launched a program to encourage faculty members to adopt digital courseware, to embed it as part of the course fee. It reduces the students' cost for course fees from going to the bookstore and paying $150, $200 to sometimes 1/3 of that, and generally around 1/2 of that. But it's embedded in the tuition, so financial aid covers it and everything else. So that's one thing we're doing, and we're expanding that. We ask all of our faculty to submit proposals, and we look at them and evaluate them. So we're trying to do some different things.
Right, I mean, it seems like some great strategies to really see how well they can work. I mean, how have students responded to the digital books?
Honestly, not as negatively as I've seen some other studies. I think the last one I looked at was a community college in Florida, and on the good side, people really liked it. On the bad side, they really disliked it. We don't see the negativeness. I mean, we see a little bit of it, of course, and we ask, and we always provide the student the option, if they want to buy the physical textbook, but it's an option and it's on their own. And then we recommend that they go out to Amazon or someplace else where they might be able to get that resource cheaper. But by and large, from the stats, most of them aren't buying that. So they're making it through with a digital text. And some of the other supporting material is spectacular. So what we need to see now over a protracted period of time is some increase in the outcomes. So all
Right.
of the survey information's nice and everything else. What we need to see is GPA start rising and retention start rising.
And those take a while to actually come through with data. I mean, you can make some predictions and try out different things, but the end result does take a while to actually see.
And we want to try as many things as we can, because, you go, and we were talking about MOOCs last year, and now MOOCs seem to be, I don't want to say on the deathbed, but, there's a lot of questions, a lot more questions than there were last year about the viability of MOOCs moving forward. And so my model has always been that we don't know what's going to win in the long run. And so you have to go and just have enough pilot projects, get those and see what the success rates are, hope that they remain viable over time and that they don't go out of business or whatever happens to them, so that we can expand on those areas that make the most sense in terms of our student outcomes, but are also supported by the greater community and are financially viable to do so.
Right. So is that what brought you to this conference, to learn more about emerging things?
And this is my second year, and honestly, Sloan-C has meant the world to me. And I belong to a lot of organizations, but Sloan-C has really been an incubator for me and the people involved with it for thoughts about moving forward in that. I hear things, I expand upon things, sometimes I have to draw back on things, but I pull away so much from here that I take back to our university. And coming here to this event, seeing the vendors here, going to some of the sessions, and I kind of selective, I don't really care about yesterday, I'm looking more towards tomorrow. You learn things, and it may be just a small little thing, but if you learn one thing a day, then the conference has been worthwhile, and it's always been worthwhile for me.
There are just so many sessions and so many things to learn and really to find out, because, I mean, at least from my experiences, that's where I learn new ideas and figure out what people's needs and problems are, and, I mean, the community is amazing.
And, you know, sometimes you don't want to be, but you are prejudicial, right? So you go and you see a session, and it's offered by St. Bartholomew's something or another. Sorry if there's a St. Bartholomew's out there. That 800 students, and you're going to say, what could they possibly offer to us? But when you come to an event like this, and the people that are here, it's amazing. It doesn't make a difference what the size of the institution is or anything else. It comes down to where their heart is and what they're trying to do. And you take away some of the greatest things from places that you never would have thought of.
Well, we really value your partnership with us and everything that you do, and it's great to hear that you find that we're a valuable resource for you and for your faculty to help moving that initiative forward.
Well, and I thank you. It's been a great relationship so far, and I hope it continues on as we continue forward. We all have challenges, and what's nice about Sloan-C and actually a lot of groups nowadays is that you understand that things are changing, that you can't remain static, and so Sloan-C is keeping up to date with what's going on in the marketplace and out in the institutions across America and around the world. And that's an important thing, that you guys keep fresh, so that helps me keep fresh.
Well, thank you for spending time with me. I hope you enjoy the rest of the conference.
Thank you. It was great to talk with you, Sandra.
Thanks.